Good evening, everybody. Jonathan started his talk by saying he felt a fraud. I'm following a client who's commissioned brilliant architecture, an architect who's shown us modernist architecture and a slight move towards ornamentation, but bringing together the artist as part of architecture. An architects collective that has won the Turner Prize. And I'm going to talk about an office fit-out. So hopefully we can find a way of getting onto here. We've got to do this, I think. There we are. So yes, I'm Richard Waterhouse. I'm an information evangelist. I like building information modelling. I was trying to work out how do we talk about the work that we're doing in the context of art and architecture. And for me, the theme that comes through all of this is communication and collaboration. We're trying to build relationships, whether it be in the region. Our relationship with Baltic is about building a relationship with the community here in the Northeast. We're passionate about the Northeast. NBS has been based up here now for over 40 years. Some would say it's a secret. We're only just emerging into that community. It's also about our relationship with our industry in terms of the information, the products we provide, but also building the community back into what we do. So I want to talk a little bit about our company and our brand, the offer that we give to the community, and then how we brought that together in our building. So we are owned by the Royal Institute of British Architects. Our job, we are a commercial company. Our job is to provide profitable income back to the RIBA. We do that quite successfully. In the 2014 financial year, we provided the RIBA with £2.7 million. We do that by providing great tools, great services to the industry. We've done that through two brands. The RIBA brand, obviously, with RIBA bookshops, publishing, the RIBA journal, it was great to see that a little earlier, but also the tools and services from NBS. That's specification, product information, technical and regulatory information. And through the years, we've advanced our expertise in this area. Mostly we get it right, sometimes we don't. But we've advanced to a point where we've done extremely well pushing our tools across practices in the UK. All of the top 100 practices in the UK use our tools one way or another. But our world is changing. Digital disruption is bringing new challenges for all of us. The move to things like building information modelling is bringing about standards in the way that we work, standardised processes. We're seeing practices operating around the world. So we need to follow that to be able to support those trends. And that's challenged who we are as an organisation. It's also challenged our brand. The brand that you'll see here on the left-hand side was developed about 12 years ago. And it became very clear if we want to move into other markets where English is not the first language, this was very difficult to understand. People for whom English isn't a first language don't get the B or the S. So we needed to do something better. And it wasn't just about a brand mark, an image, it was about the story behind our brand. So we worked with a practice here in North East, Gardner Richardson, and Darren, I think, is joining us. It may even be here. I can't see him. To look at our identity and the belief behind our brand, and came up with this. You'll see in your packs, you've all got a lanyard. There's a little memory stick on this lanyard as well, so you'll find out more about us on that memory stick. But this isn't just a mark. It isn't just a great piece of art in its own right. It actually has a story, and this is the story. So it's about information, and information is chaotic, it's firing around the industry. Our job is to make some structure out of that information. So the hexagon is the structure of community. DNA is a hexagon. The circles represent the disciplines, because buildings cannot be built by one discipline. And the overlap, the intersection between the disciplines is where information comes together. And that's where we think NBS comes in. We can provide the information, the exchange of information between the disciplines, and that forms our logo. So our offer to our customers is where it started. We've got tools such as the BIM Toolkit where we can define projects, the roles and responsibilities and the information. Support building the geometry model with object libraries and the structured information that actually builds those models. That gets linked to construction specifications through our BIM spec tools and also linked into standards, technical, regulatory. I'm not going to talk about the technical things. What I'm going to say is we believe in this technology, we believe in that information exchange, to the point where we said we would use it on our building. So we're based here, not far from the bottom of the big market, just opposite the cathedral, in the old post office. We're a growing business. In the next 2 years, we'll add 50 more people into the business. We already have 170 people on the Newcastle site. And we want that site to be our centre of innovation for our global growth. But we also want it to be a centre for architecture in the northeast. We can't have a centre of architecture at the moment, a true architecture centre, but working with our colleagues in our IBA Northeast, we can actually create a place where we can be proud of the architecture and the work that's done here, and try to engage the community in the work that's done by all of these practices. So there we are, just opposite the cathedral, and this is the site. So just over 2 years ago, we bought all of this. We were already in the building at the front. It's a very complicated building. There's lots of areas which were offices for let at the front. We had Red Box in the studios over the top. NECC also took a let at the back off Westgate Road. And there are 12 apartments in there as well. So we are now a landlord to a number of organisations and private clients. But we wanted to be able to see how we can develop the building to support us and our future. At the heart of this is a building which is centred on communication. Looking back in the archives, we find some great photos, telex and telegraph machines, and then rooms full of people answering the telephone, being the connectors between people. So we wanted to see how we can do that now, but reimagine it for the 21st century. A place where people come together, communities come together, supporting those communities and essentially being a hub for information exchange. For us, that's digital exchange. But also we want the building to be a canvas, both for the things we can learn and for the community. So using the project in BIM, but also learning from that, creating learning material that we can explain to the industry as a whole, creating that architecture gallery, as I've already mentioned, and also as a training centre where we can do continuing professional development. To do that means there are going to be lots of different users of the building. First thing we needed to do was to actually understand the building we have. So we scanned the building with laser scanners, so what's called a cloud point survey. Behind on the wall, you'll see a target. This poor chap had to go around the whole site and do 2 scans of every space and then knit them together. And what you get is a model, a digital model of the building. This is the laser scan, so you can see what the building looks like from the scans, and they then build the actual model from those scans. So we now have a digital representation of the site. And this forms the basis of the work for the new designs that were going to take place. The other thing I should say is when we kicked off this project, we said that we only wanted people from the northeast to work on the project. Given our ownership of the RIBA, that was a little problematic, but we're committed to the area. So everybody that's worked on this project has been based here. So the different spaces that are in the building. Back to the site again, what we've got are 3 major groups of people going to use the building. At the front, this is where my colleagues will come into the building. We'll have an area where the public can enter the building, and then also the other areas which are sublet through leases to NECC and to the private clients. It's fair to say that when we're trying to work this out, that looks like a simple answer. In the iterations of the design, this took some time. What that looks like on plan is you see the colour coordination. So we've got the blue for the staff, green for the others, and then the red is where the public will come in on the street down at the bottom and into what will be the gallery space. That has been a gallery space previously. When it was Red Box, it was used as a gallery itself. This is a space that we will use to be able to do practice nights, to show off the work of practices in the region, and then to have some networking time and also potentially lectures on the work. Up on the first floor, the blue now means we've got some huge floor plates for our colleagues, which will improve the environment in which we work. And the red space is new areas for us, and in particular this thing called the hub. So in our roof terrace, we're actually filling part of that in to actually act as a centre where we can have entertainment, etc. And then above that, we'll create a new roof garden and also have the lecture theatre and additional entertainment space. If we look at that in the model, taking from the top left, we can start to see the beams where the old building used to be and the new infill. And over to the centre, one floor up, that's where the lecture theatre will be. We've extended a lift and sorted out the staircase to allow vertical communication between them. So back to the site again. You can see the roof terrace just over on the left-hand side. The building is quite an astonishing building. It's grade 2 listed, but we found some extra spaces that we didn't really know about. There are also lots of tunnels under this part of Newcastle as well. So directly underneath that street at the front, there's actually another underground space. It's not part of this phase of work, but at some point in the future we'll come back and have a go at that space, find other uses for it. So the last piece of this was connecting our teams, trying to create an environment where the internal communication between teams improves. At the minute, we're scattered in many different spaces, and the challenge to the design team was, how do you do that within an existing, quite tricky building? So in the basement, what we're doing, we want to turn this into a building that's used many hours during the day. We're creating a gym and exercise spaces, supporting local use and local transport, working with the city to do that. On the ground floor, we're actually bringing in now a new central staircase, which will link the first and second floor, the ground and first floors and mezzanine to create simple access between all of the teams. The first floor is the major space and where the new hub will be. And you can see there we're starting to bring in some of the graphic design from our brand. And up at the top, there's the roof terrace and the lecture theatre. Another future stage will be to link the front tower and that central lecture theatre. But we also wanted, lastly, to tie this back to the original building. And the teams that were engaged in doing this, Ward Robinson and Jane Derbyshire's, did a really great job of tying that together for us. That means being sympathetic in the materials that are used, but tying our brand back to it again, opening up the front entrance so you can see that wonderful post hall. And the last piece for us in terms of collaboration and communication is not just the spaces around the other floors, but at the very top floor, we're going to introduce a new space. So on the third floor at the front, we're going to create an incubator space for small practice. We want to be able to support those new practices coming through in the Northeast and give them a place where they can start their work, support that initial growth, and then they'll move out as new practices come through. So just some last graphics to show you how that works, using objects, BIM objects, and then seeing what they'll actually look like. I think this will be a superb space for our colleagues to be able to congregate and have those informal conversations. We're actually removing meeting rooms and actually trying to get people to communicate in different ways. In the main spaces, looks a bit chocker full of desks, so we can break that down with other informal furniture and bring the brand colours through on the interiors as well. So in terms of timescale, the builders have started. We've actually got a huge wall down the middle of the building because we're occupying the building at the same time. So the builders are working behind one side. It's Sergo who are doing the work. In early June, we have a 2-week period where we'll swap over, and we should be able to show you our building sometime in August. So for those in the local community, look for some form of launch probably around September. So, in summary, we're reimagining this building for the 21st century. The old post office, through the post and through the telephones, has always been about communication. We'll take that on into this digital world. We've aligned our brand and our culture as part of the way we've redeveloped the building. It isn't just about a building, it's about how we're going to work in the future, and also how we'll engage the public and the industry in our building in the future. I want to finish by just quoting a little bit of marketing from Apple, because when you look at the outside of the building, it's going to be rather like the iPhone 6S. It looks just like the iPhone 6. The only thing that's different is everything on the inside. Thank you very much.